The sirens had already faded into the distance when the firefighter noticed the tug on his boot. It was light at first, almost hesitant, like a question. He looked down, expecting a loose strap or a piece of debris, but instead, he found himself staring into the widest, most desperate brown eyes he had ever seen. A small, soot-smudged puppy stood there, ribs showing, paws trembling, gently biting the edge of his heavy boot as if saying, "Please, don't go yet." Firefighter Daniel Reyes had seen a lot in his 12 years on the job. He had pulled families from burning homes, carried injured strangers through smoke so thick it swallowed the light, and held hands while people took their last breaths. He had trained himself to keep moving, to finish the call, to let the grief wait until later. But something about this puppy stopped him cold. The way its tail barely wagged, the way it kept glancing back toward the burned-out building behind them, made his chest tighten in a way no alarm ever had. The apartment complex was quiet now, reduced to charred beams and the sharp smell of smoke and wet ash. Most residents had already been accounted for. The official report said, "Fire contained, no human casualties." It should have been the end of the call. Yet the puppy refused to let go of Daniel's boot, pulling harder now, letting out a thin, broken whimper. Daniel crouched down, ignoring the ache in his knees, and peeled off one glove. "Hey, buddy," he said softly. "What is it? Are you hurt?" The puppy wasn't hurt, not on the outside. No burns, no blood. But its eyes filled with panic as soon as Daniel tried to stand again. It barked once, sharp and urgent, then turned and ran a few steps toward the blackened doorway of what had once been Building C. It stopped, looked back, and barked again. Daniel's partner, Marcus, called out from near the truck. "Reyes, you coming? Command's clearing us." Daniel hesitated. Every protocol told him this was done. The building had been searched twice. It wasn't safe to go back in. And yet, that look. That pleading, intelligent look that said someone is still in there. "I'll be right there," Daniel replied, though his voice lacked conviction. The puppy ran back to him, grabbed his pant leg again, and tugged harder. Its small body shook with effort, nails scraping against the pavement. Daniel swallowed. He thought of his own childhood dog, Luna, who used to wait by the door every day until Daniel came home from school. He thought of how animals couldn't shout or dial emergency numbers. All they could do was hope a human understood. "All right," Daniel murmured, heart pounding. "Show me." He clipped his helmet back into place and grabbed a flashlight. Officially, he shouldn't do this. But officially hadn't been there when a puppy begged you with its whole soul. The puppy led him inside, weaving confidently through debris and puddles of water. Smoke still lingered, but visibility was decent. Daniel followed slowly, checking each step, senses on high alert. The building groaned softly, like an exhausted animal itself. He kept talking quietly, partly to reassure the puppy, partly to steady his own nerves. They reached what had once been a small apartment. The doorframe was scorched, the door half collapsed. Inside, furniture lay overturned, walls blackened. The puppy ran straight to the corner near the bedroom and began to bark frantically, scratching at the floor. Daniel's heart slammed against his ribs. He moved closer and shined his flashlight downward. At first, he saw nothing, just broken boards and ash. Then he noticed a faint movement beneath a fallen dresser. A hand. "Hey, hey, I see you." Daniel dropped to his knees and radioed in immediately, voice tight with urgency. "Command, I have a survivor." "Repeat, I have a survivor in Building C, apartment." The response crackled back, shocked and immediate. "Copy that, back up en route." Daniel set the radio down and focused on the task. Beneath the dresser was an elderly woman, barely conscious, her breathing shallow. Soot covered her face, and her eyes fluttered weakly at the sound of his voice. The puppy pressed against her chest, whining, licking her chin as if trying to wake her. "It's okay," Daniel said gently, though his throat burned. "You're not alone. We've got you." He worked carefully, lifting debris just enough to free her without causing further collapse. The puppy never left her side, only stepping back when Daniel needed space, then rushing forward again, tail wagging anxiously. When backup arrived, the team moved with practiced precision, placing the woman on a stretcher, securing oxygen, checking vitals. As they carried her out, the puppy tried to follow, panic returning full force. Daniel scooped the little dog up without thinking, cradling it against his chest. It was light, too light, and it trembled violently, but it didn't resist. Instead, it pressed its head under Daniel's chin, as if it finally felt safe. Outside, Paramedics rushed the woman into the ambulance. Her eyes opened briefly, and when she saw the puppy in Daniel's arms, tears slid silently down her temples. "My Benny," she whispered, voice barely audible. "He saved me." Daniel felt something crack open inside him. The woman's name was Evelyn Harper. She was 78 years old and had lived in that apartment for over 30 years. Benny had come into her life after her husband passed away, a scrappy little shelter puppy who followed her everywhere and slept curled against her chest at night. When the fire started, she had tried to escape, but the smoke overwhelmed her. She collapsed, unable to move, certain that was the end. But Benny hadn't given up. While Evelyn was taken to the hospital, Daniel stayed behind with the puppy. Protocol said animals found on scene were to be taken to animal control. Daniel knew that, but as Benny sat beside him, eyes fixed on the ambulance as it disappeared down the street, Daniel felt a quiet resolve settle in his bones. "Don't worry," he whispered. "We'll figure this out." The next few days passed in a blur. Daniel visited Evelyn in the hospital on his day off, Benny tucked into a borrowed carrier at his feet. When Evelyn saw them, she cried openly, her thin arms wrapping around the puppy as if she might never let go. Doctors said she was lucky, very lucky. Smoke inhalation, dehydration, but she would recover. "You listen to him," she told Daniel, squeezing his hand. "Most people don't listen to dogs." Daniel smiled, though his eyes stung. "I think he made it pretty clear." Evelyn had no family nearby, and her apartment was gone. Temporary housing was arranged, but pets weren't allowed. The words hit Daniel like another alarm. He saw the fear flicker across Evelyn's face as she looked down at Benny. "I can't lose him," she said quietly. "He's all I have left." Daniel didn't hesitate. "You won't," he said. "I'll take care of him. As long as it takes." And he did. Days turned into weeks. Benny moved into Daniel's small apartment, filling the quiet space with soft footsteps and the sound of life. Daniel discovered that Benny liked to sleep on his shoes and hated the sound of the coffee grinder. He also discovered that coming home after long shifts felt different now. Lighter, warmer. Every weekend, Daniel drove Benny to visit Evelyn. The reunion was always the same: joy, tears, whispered gratitude. Slowly, Evelyn regained her strength. Slowly, plans formed. A senior housing complex that allowed pets. A new beginning. The day Evelyn was finally able to take Benny home again, Daniel felt a surprising ache in his chest. He had grown attached, more than he expected. As Evelyn hugged him goodbye, she seemed to sense it. "You didn't just save my life," she said softly. "You reminded me the world is still kind." Daniel watched them walk away together, Benny trotting proudly at her side, tail wagging. He thought that was the end of the story. It wasn't. Months later, Daniel received a letter at the fire station. Inside was a photo of Evelyn and Benny in front of their new home, sunlight bright on their faces. Beneath it, in careful handwriting, were the words, "Because you listened, I get to wake up every morning. Because you listened to a puppy, 2 lives were saved." Daniel folded the letter slowly, feeling the weight of it settle into his heart. In a job filled with chaos and loss, it was easy to forget why he started. That day, he remembered. Sometimes, heroism doesn't roar in with sirens and flashing lights. Sometimes, it comes on 4 small paws, with frightened eyes and a stubborn refusal to give up. And sometimes, all it takes to change everything is the courage to stop, look down, and listen when a puppy begs for help.